Hey guys, so in this video we're going to create a week overview component where you can see all the days of the current week, and when you select a date it will update that date to be the selected one. On the right hand side here you can see how you would use this component. You just pass in two things, which one is the selected date and the second is the callback for when the selected date gets changed. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we're going to do is run this command here to create all the boilerplate for our app. Once we do that, we'll cd into this directory we created. We'll run npm install, and we'll also right away install Tailwind CSS and all the dependencies needed to get that to work. And so we'll run this command here to install everything. And this command is just copy and pasted from the Tailwind CSS documentation. We'll run this command next to initialize everything. And then we'll edit the Tailwind config.js file. So if we open up that file, Tailwind config, we have to add a few items inside of this content array, so we'll just paste that in and we'll delete the original key, and then we'll modify that index CSS file. We're just going to delete everything here and paste in this here. And at this point we should be able to just run npm run dev, and if we load our page we see everything. Let's go ahead and open up this code in our code editor. So I'm going to leave this running, and in a new tab open up our project with NeoVim. And so if we go into the main TSX file, we can see it renders our app component. So we'll go into that file, and here there's an app CSS. We're going to go ahead and just delete that file, and then delete these things as well here. From here, we're just going to change everything. We're going to render our week overview component, which we'll create in a second. And instead of having a count here, we're going to use date. So we'll have selected date and change this to set selected date. And the default value will just be new date, which will give us today's date. And so let's create this week overview component. It'll be right in this file, same directory, so week-overview.tsx. We'll open it up. We'll save this for now. So we'll define the interface for this first. So we'll have an interface called week overview props. It'll have two things. It'll have the selected date, which will be a date, and then on selected date change, it's going to be a callback that takes a new date and doesn't return anything. So now we can export our function called week overview, and in here we'll have this be the week overview props. We have our selected date and unselected date change. And to start, we'll just return a div that says week overview to make sure that we wired everything up correctly so far. So we'll save that. Over here, we'll pass in make sure we import it. We'll pass in the selected date to be this. And then the on selected date, we'll just use the set selected date callback provided from React. So refresh, we can see our week overview. Nice. So let's go back to our week overview component here, and we need to figure out what the days of the week are for whatever date is currently selected. So to do this, we're going to store it in an array that we'll call days. And every time the date changes, we'll want to make sure we're still showing this correct week. So we'll use memo for this here. And for the dependency array, we'll pass in the selected date. So anytime the selected date changes, we're going to recompute what the days are. And so to get the current week, what we need to figure out is what day is currently passed in, and then figure out what the Sunday's date was. So that's where the week begins. So if we go to the terminal here in the browser, make this a little bit wider, go to console. If we get a new date, so today, see Monday, September 16th, to get Sunday's date, what we'd have to do is we do d.getDate, which will get us 16, and then if we subtract from that number the value of d.getDay, which is which day of the week it is, so 1 means Monday, 0 would be Sunday. So if we do d.getDate minus d.getDay, we'll get 15, and that's the day that we want for the first day of the week. So to get that, what we need to do is we're going to store the full year. We're going to create an array of dates. So we'll have the selected date dot get full year. We'll also want to store the month. So selected date dot get month. And then for Sunday's date, that's what we just looked at in the console. Sunday's date, we'll have selected date dot get date minus selected date dot get day. And now we'll make this a little bit wider. We can create an array called week, and it's going to be an array of dates. And we'll do a for loop here. So we'll let I is equal to 0, while I is less than 7. After each iteration, we'll increment it by 1. And we're just going to push that date onto the array. So new date. So we'll do the full year. The month is just going to be the same. And then for the date, this is we're going to do Sunday's date plus I, so whichever iteration we're on. And then for the hours, for the minutes, for the seconds, and the milliseconds, all of those will be 0. So we have this week array, and we're going to return that week. And so now if we go up to days, we can hover over it, look at the type, and you see it's an array of dates. So let's go into our return statement here, and in here we'll have a div. We'll give it a class name. We'll make sure it takes up the full width, make it a flex, justify a round, and we'll center the text. We'll give it a border bottom of 2 and a border color of black. Close out that div. And then inside of this div, we're going to iterate over all the days. And for each day that we get, we're going to render a button. And the key will be the day.getTime to make sure it's unique. For the onClick, this will be a callback that will call the prop that we got passed into the component with whatever the day is. And if we We'll add a class name on this one as well. Give it a padding of 2 units, so that's 8 pixels total, you can see. And for the width, since if we do some math here, 100 divided by 7, it's 14.28. We'll just make it 14%, which will leave a little bit more extra white space, but that's okay. And then if it's the currently selected date, so we'll use the $sign and curly braces here. We'll check if the selected date dot get time, if it's equal to this day dot get time. What we'll do is give it some specific style, otherwise it'll just be an empty string. So here we'll do the background will be black and the text will be white, so it'll be inverted. And then we can close out that opening tag, and then we'll add in the closing tag for the button right away. And then in here we'll have a div with a class name. We'll do text extra small, and we're gonna pass in, for now, we'll just do day.getDay, so the number of the day of the week it is. So for Monday, we'll get a 1. So if we save this, we see we've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 through 6. We'll also create another div over here, which will have the date in it. So get date, we'll want that capitalized, perfect. We save this, so that looks good. And then for this one, instead of just showing that number, let's show a 3-letter abbreviation for the day of the week that it's representing. So to do this, we're going to create an array called day label, and in here will just be the first 3 letters of the day, and the position of these will correlate with which day of the week it is. So define all of them. So this first one here, sun, is in index 0. This is Monday is in index 1, so on and so forth. So to get the right one to show up, what we can do is just pass in here day label, and then for the index we'll do the day.getDate. So if we save this, we can see it shows up correctly. And then if we click on a date, we can see that it gets selected, and the only problem that we have is initially our first day is not getting selected, and that's actually an app component. When we create this date here, it's having the minutes, the seconds, the milliseconds, and that's making this comparison that we have. I'm going to zoom out a bit here to make it fit in one line. Not that much. It's making this comparison that we have here and here. It's making it not match. So what we can do here is, instead of just saying it's whatever the current day is, we could create a new date object and then set the minutes and the seconds and the milliseconds to 0 to make it match. We'll leave that out for this video. I think that can be left for you guys as an exercise. But yeah, so here is our final result.